this lesson, we're going to continue building the boiler by making this little portal here using the conform brush rather than conform modifier. So to get started, let's go to left viewport, create panel, standard primitives. We're going to go to MVH primitives and pick tube cap. And we're going to pull out a tube cap roughly the diameter of this little piece right here. So there we go. Inset. That's good. This time around we'll set the segments to 24 because we're going to do something a little different. And with the rotate tool, snaps are set. Let's rotate that to 90 degrees and go to perspective. So when I was doing research, I noticed that these pieces aren't exactly round. They're oblong, kind of like a capsule shape. So let's convert this to an edit poly. And now what we're going to do is just do some scaling to get the shape we'd like. Okay, so I'm going to select these two vertices and these two. I'm going to hit Control and I to invert my selection. And I'm going to use the scale tool to scale this out a bit. Scaling this way. It's approximately what I want. And now I'm going to deselect these vertices. And I'm going to select 10 here. Make sure I have 10 selected. I do. And same on the other end, 10 there, makes 20. And in the top, we're going to flatten this out a little by scaling this inward. Alt to deselect these vertices that I'm deselecting right now. Let's scale again. Deselect, deselect. Same on this side. One more time we scale. And that's about the shape I want. So now we're going to go in perspective. Got a good view of what we want. Let's select, we're going to hold Control to select the boiler as well. We still have that piece selected. And then we're going to Alt and Q to isolate that. It's coming on in a second. There we go. And now what we're going to do is select this. I'm going to go to the Graphite Modeling Tools, Freeform, click on that tab, and you'll see that right here there's a little thing that says Draw on Grid. Has a drop-down menu though, and we can draw on surface. Now this is great for the kind of work we're going to do because you can pick the surface you want your mesh to conform to. With that said, we're going to pick the surface using the pick button, click on the boiler, and you'll see that boiler 01 is now listed. Let's set this offset to 0.1. That's a good starting point and should give us what we like. Now, over here are the conform brushes. We're going to use the main conform brush. And we'll see that there are some settings that we want to set. Let me just bring that window where you can see it. Okay, so right now full strength is set to 20. I want that at 100. And the same for the conform setting. It's at 0.100. We're going to make it at 100 as well. And now we are good to go. We are conforming to the surface of the boiler using the conform brush. You can see the cursor is now like a brush. You can change the size and things like that in the options, but for what we're doing, this is perfect. And now you're going to left click and just paint that mesh onto the boiler mesh. You can rotate, make sure it's tight. And when it all looks good, which it looks very good right now, we're going to click out of conform. And now we have what we want. We have that shape conforming to the base mesh or the boiler. And now what I'm going to do is just shift it up a little bit so we can see it better. We can exit isolation, and we're going to do border selection as we did earlier. Select that border, and we're going to use shift and drag with the left mouse button, give some thickness there. And then here we're going to do border selection, and we're going to shift and drag it up again. I'm going to make that planar along the Z axis. That's nice. That's just what we wanted to do. Scroll in a little. We could hit Z for zoom as well. I'm going to shift, drag that up. And now I'm going to do a little scaling. Give us that curve at the top. And now I'm going to shift and scale. So shift, left mouse button. Okay, and then we move that up a little bit. I'm going to shift and scale one more time. So R for scale, shift, pull it in a little bit. Okay, that's a nice shape. What I want to do now, I want to cap that off. So what I'm going to do is go in here, Let's adjust these a little bit. Graphite modeling tools. Here's the cap poly. I'm going to click that. It gets capped off. See that? So now it's a closed shape. And let's Alt and Q to isolate that. And as we did earlier in the exercises, at one point we used P-Connect, which is Paint Connect. We're going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to click P-Connect, go to Vertex, and then what we're going to do, here's the midpoint. I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to get that little box around the vertex. I'm going to drive it right across with Control still held, and you see it attaches. So we're going to do that again. One more time. Let's just keep doing that. And eventually, you're going to get the feel for how many you need, but what I generally do is leave it like this, and then I calculate out how will I get a four-sided here. Well, the way I would do that is not by going from this vertex across. I would use this vertex. So I Control, get the box, let go of Control, go all the way across to the last edge, and once again press Control and go to that vertex. It's not a perfect straight line, but it's okay. I'm going to repeat that process. We're going to Control, box shows up, let go of Control all the way across, and Control again. Same thing here, Control, let go, all the way across, Control. Now, it may not be beautiful, but that's all quads. This is a flat surface, so we don't need to be so concerned with the fact that these lines aren't straight. You can tweak them if you want, but I really don't think for what we're doing it's necessary, because this surface is pretty flat. If we're curving or something, then we'd have to worry a little bit more. And it's very simple. You can select an edge, do a loop selection, isolate the loop from here to here, and just make it planar along an axis. But again, we don't really need it. So what I'm going to do is exit isolation. Take a look at that. And let's add a turbo smooth on top. 1, 2, 3. Turbo smooth. Turn off the wireframe with F4. And there you see we have the shape. Now it's a little smaller than the one I had in my reference, but that's simple enough. We can scale it in 2 directions. Just like that. That looks good. And maybe instead of scaling it the other way, let's do a left viewport and just select these vertices. And let's just move them up. W, shift it up just like that. If you hit Alt and X, you can see the shape. It's a pretty good match. Turbo smooth again. Let's go to perspective. And let's add one more iteration. And now you see that's a nice clean shape. Can move it up just a touch. I like a little more thickness over here. It's a perfect shape. Conforms to the mesh. And totally different technique. A little more interactive. I think they're about equal in the way they function, but that just seems like more fun to use. So now the last thing we're going to do with this piece of mesh is name it. I'm just going to call it Portal, because I don't know the technically correct term. Portal 1, because it's the front one, 01. Enter. And there you have it. We have that little section attached to the, well, on top of the boiler mesh. And in the next lesson, we're going to continue. We're going to do the next 2 pieces. Same kind of functionality using conform brush. And ready to go.